Just start off real quick. It's been a busy, dating back to the move we made with Pascal, which seems like it's been quite a while ago, but culminated today with the trade deadline. And a lot of activity, as everybody knows and is aware, but I wanted to give you guys a chance to ask any questions about the moves that were made, dating back to the Siakam trade to everything that was done today. So let you guys fire away.
Chad, today, what went into the thinking of moving on from Buddy Hield and the return you got from Philadelphia?
Yeah, Buddy's obviously a terrific player. Has meant a lot to our team the last couple of years. He's got a great spirit. Obviously, a phenomenal shooter. We're always trying to look long term with this team, building this thing step by step. I think dating back to last year when we kind of went in this new direction with this team, it's going to be a process of building the team. We want to get to the point where we're contending for championships, and that's going to take some time. It's not going to happen immediately. We feel good about the moves. Pascal is going to be a big part of things moving forward. But Buddy is a player that contributed valuably to us on the court in the locker room. But we're also in the situation where we got to make some tough decisions, and building this team requires some tough decisions, and today was one of them.
How much input did you have Tyrese Haliburton give you on all these moves, including the Siakam trade, especially considering his relationship with Buddy?
Sure. I mean, not blind to their relationship. Very close guys, close friends, and play well together. We know that. So Ty was aware of what we were planning to do, and Ty wants to win. Ty's is thinking long term just like we are, and realizes that there's some tough decisions along the way. But we're also excited about the moves that we made today too. Losing a valuable shooter in Buddy, but bringing in a terrific shooter in Doug as well. So different types of players, obviously, but we know we're losing that skill set, but we feel excited about what Doug's going to bring us.
You've alluded to several times in the past being, chasing that strong forward or that two-way forward. How long have you guys been interested in Pascal, and what made the time you actually did at the right time to acquire him?
Oh, I mean, for me personally, I've loved him since New Mexico State. But as a staff here, we've been long time admirers of Pascal. We've had several, attempts to try to get him to our team. But the circumstances matched this time with us in Toronto, and I've always admired his two-way ability, his love for the game, his motor. Obviously, as a player that just got better and better during his time in Toronto. And I've always admired him from afar and felt like he would be a great fit with us. And so far, he's been phenomenal for us. Very happy with Pascal.
I guess to keep on that, I mean, bottom line, were you surprised it didn't cost you more? I mean, he was obviously an All-NBA player, two-time All-Star. Certainly Bruce was, had contributed for you guys a lot through first-round picks. But did you expect the cost to get a player like that to be higher?
Oh, I'd never diminish, players like, Bruce and Jordan. I got a lot of respect for those guys. Obviously, we gave up some draft capital. Different, times of situations, the price will vary. Some of it's contract related, some of it's, direction of a team related. But it felt like the right price for us at the right time, and it was absolutely the right player.
To what extent? I mean, obviously, the big question people have about that deal is, is he going to be a long-term, presence for the Pacers? What kind of conversations have you been, allowed to have so far? I mean, how much of a sense did you have about his? I mean, at least I guess whether he was going to keep an open mind about resigning beyond this season.
Sure. I mean, that's a big part of a trade is you trade for somebody because you want them to be here long term, and we're limited on some of the things that we can do with that. But the goal when we attained him was to have him be a long term piece for us, and that's still the goal. And he's been a great fit so far. I think he's happy so far. We're happy with him, so it's going to be a relationship-building part here. We're only 11 or 12 games in, so he's still getting to know us, and we're still getting to know him a little bit, but very optimistic about, him being a big piece of our team moving forward.
You talked earlier about just Buddy just being one of those tough decisions you had to make. I mean, what to delve, I guess, a little bit further in that, I guess what made now the time? Obviously, that he's got an expiring contract or whatnot, but what made this the, I guess, best collective move that you could put together if you felt like you were going to have to move on from him?
Sure. I think as a front office, you're always looking, what's the next step? And as we looked into the off season, we got to start planning towards, obviously we're trying to maximize this season. Our team's done a great job of getting us in position to be a contender for a playoff spot. And we don't want to diminish that, but we as a front office always have to be looking to the next step. We want to put ourselves in position to be good for a long time. And so this today, the decision we made with Buddy was more made for thinking a little bit down the road, but we also didn't want to hurt our team, too much, and that's why bringing back Doug, we feel like replaces a lot of the things that Buddy brought from a shooting standpoint. But we're, like I said, it's a step-by-step process. We're trying to think long-term with this team and try to be good for a long time and put ourselves in position to contend for a championship. And today was one of those, decisions that maybe feels like, wasn't helping the team now, but we're trying to look long-term, and I can't emphasize that enough with this group.
I guess to put a finer point on that, what about this deal looks really good for the long term as far as you're concerned? Obviously, Doug's in a similar contract position. He probably it might not cost you as much to re-sign him or whatnot. But I mean, what are the pieces of this deal that you look at and say that's the piece that makes us better long term?
Sure. I think anytime you acquire draft capital, that puts you in position to make moves down the road to improve your team. I think you saw a lot of moves today that involved a lot of second-round picks. Players obviously involved, but draft capital is a really important thing to building a team, and we acquired a lot of that today that we think could be beneficial down the road to help build the team. We acquired a pick last year at the draft that helped us attain Pascal. Draft capital is very valuable currency, obviously, in the transaction business in our league, and the more of that you can have, the more in position you are to make a move for a big-time player, and that's what we're trying to put ourselves in position to continue to add great players that can be long-term pieces for us.
Chad, to that point, how do you thread the needle when, players are young, they're hungry, they want to win like tomorrow, but you have to look long term and knowing that there is an emotional side to it, a relationship side to it as well?
Yeah, you never want to diminish, the desire to win now. I mean, we're not out there trying to not be competitive. I mean, we've had our coaches have done a phenomenal job this season with this group. We've got young guys that are blossoming, every game for us. I know tonight was, not our best night, but, the job that these coaches have done with some of these young players and where they're going, where they were at from when we obtained them to where they're at now, I can't say enough positive things about Coach and his staff and the work ethic of these guys, the unselfish, team-oriented, hard-playing, style. That's what we're trying to build this team with. And so you're trying to balance, thinking long-term, but you want to put guys in position to develop and succeed and grow. And I think we're seeing that with a lot of our young guys right now. So excited about where we're going with this group. And if we can continue to add to it, more hard-playing, unselfish guys, we're very, very optimistic about our future.
And then with Buddy, was it him asking for a trade, or was it just more of a team decision to move on from him?
I'd rather not get into the specifics of it. Got great admiration for Buddy, and wish him the best in Philadelphia.
And the last thing is, I know it's not related to like the trades and stuff, but when you acquired Tyrese, how much do you think he's changed the fabric of your decision-making period because of the leap he made, particularly this year from being, an all-star to potentially an all-NBA caliber player?
Yeah, Tyrese is obviously a foundational player, and I hope he's here for a long, long time. Hope he retires a Pacer. And he has changed our thinking a little bit. Some of it is his style of play. It changes the type of players that you're looking to put around him. But also his elevation of where he's taken our team in such a short amount of time. We're looking for players that maybe we want to have some young guys that are developing, but we also got to have some veterans that are helping us win now, because this team's shown that we can be competitive with the very best teams in the league. And if we can get into a playoff situation, and Ty is our leader, and playing with the pace we play and the confidence he exudes and puts in other players, that kind of elevates us to want to be good a little quicker than maybe we anticipated, but we also don't want to skip steps along the way.
When you talk about long-term benefit, it would seem that Benedict Matherin's going to get a lot more minutes or get some more minutes. Was that part of the equation as well?
Yeah, I think we got some young players that were, behind Buddy that we are optimistic about and believe in, and wanted to see, this move obviously, like you said, creates some opportunity for some of those players, and, Ben being one of them. And we want to see what he can do with, a little more of a role and a little more responsibility. And we're going to go through highs and lows with our young players. We know that. But we're also, believe in these guys. That's why we draft them. That's why we brought them here. We want to help them grow, help them develop, and help them turn into big-time players for our team.
Chad, in what ways do you feel like Pascal completely changes your trajectory and where you guys are trying to get in the next year or two?
Well, he's a champion. He's got a lot of experience under his belt. He gives a little, a more layer of experience for our starting group. He gives us some versatility in this, sense that he's a 6'9", versatile power forward. It's kind of a position we've been looking for, type of player we've been looking for. But we also know we're still a work in progress. I mean, Pascal takes us to another level, but we still know we've got more work to do as building this roster and developing some of these young players. But I do feel like adding Pascal to this group has kind of elevated us to maybe the next step. And we've just got to find more pieces to put with this group.
Having tracked him as long as you have, what are some personality traits, some skill set, even off the court, that has stood out to you that you're excited that he's adding to this group?
Yeah, really didn't know him very well. None of us did until the trade. Obviously, you have very little exposure to other teams' players in this league, other than an occasional off-season bump in. But so far, he's been a very jovial, joyful guy who you can tell he loves basketball. I mean, he knew a lot about our team from the day we got him. He studies the league. He loves to play. He fits right in with our group. And I think he's, so far he's enjoyed Indy. It's a big change. All he knows is Toronto from his NBA experience. So he's getting to know Indy and been a very seamless fit with our group, from our players in our locker room to our coaches to our staff. Everybody's just, he's been an easy fit like we had hoped.
And what considerations did you guys give to keeping Corey, keeping Korkmaz within, much like last season, I assume they maybe had a decision?
Yeah, some of it is trying to keep flexibility with our roster. We wanted to, have the ability to maybe look at some other players with our last roster spot. We're going to have an open roster spot, and we might look at some different options there. There's lots of, different methods to do that. So that was kind of important to us. Corey is a player that, we had here before, and I have a lot of respect for him, but we wanted to have the flexibility to maybe look at a different player. We may do it, we may not. We haven't decided for sure what we'll do with that last roster spot, but we have options there. And but I have a lot of respect for Corey as a person, as a player too.
Wanted to go back to what you said about Pascal and positional versatility. I mean, how has he changed the way that you look at this roster, I guess kind of on a positional level, from a short-term to long-term basis, and a long-term basis, in terms of what you feel like you need to put around him, and just how it kind of changes the math and sort of, I guess, the geometry there?
Sure. I think we're still feeling that out. Obviously, it's only been, it's been 12 games or whatever, and our players are feeling him out. He's feeling out our players. So that takes a little time to develop that chemistry. But, I think when we brought him here, we felt like this is our long-term solution at a starting four position for us. And him and Tyrese together, we thought would be a good fit. And they're still figuring each other out, but we're very, very hopeful and optimistic about that fit moving forward. And so if those two guys are big pieces, of your group, it's finding the pieces that fit around those two, give them space to do what they do best, whether that's shooting around them, whether that's physicality, whether that's rim protection, ball handling, whatever it might be. So you're trying to figure out what complements your best players. And we're still kind of learning how those two guys fit together and how Pascal fits in with the whole group. But been very, very optimistic. He's still learning things. I mean, he's out there, still kind of getting to know his teammates. He's learning the plays every day, getting comfortable with what he's doing. And I think you'll see moments where he's very unselfish. He's hard playing, which is exactly what we're looking for in a player. And but we're still learning that as we go along.
Chad, how have you all, as a front office, as a team, just kind of helped Tyrese navigate the 65-game rule? He wants to play. He's working through the hamstring thing now. Obviously, he's not a selfish person, type of player, but there's a lot riding on that, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think the core of it is Tyrese loves the game. I take away the 65-game rule. Tyrese wants to be out there playing because he loves basketball. And you can see, when he doesn't get to play, it hurts. And I think, you can see right now he's finding his way back to being 100%. He's not there yet, but we also want to get him out there, as much as we can because he helps our team. I mean, we're just a better team when he plays. But you also want to be conscious of the long term for him, for our organization. But we want him to we want to be on the floor every night and trying to work with him on what's right with his body every night. There's certain nights where, he's not going to feel as good. And so you got to be conscious of that and not put him out there and put him at risk for something that might jeopardize things long term. So our medical staff, our coaching staff, Tyrese, it's a lot of communication, making sure we're doing the right thing for him, but trying to get him out there as many games as we can.
And he mentioned how it was kind of weird trying to get acclimated to Pascal because he wasn't 100% healthy when he first got here. How did that maybe factor into just how you evaluated your roster before the trade deadline?
Yeah, it's still so early with Pascal with us. I mean, like I said, it's just been a limited number of games so far, and it might be you may not know right away. You may not know till for a lot further down the road how they complement each other and fit together. And it takes players a little while to figure things out. Now Tyrese can pick things up quickly on how to maximize another player, and he did a lot of research on Pascal before the trade. Finding out how to play with him, where he likes the ball, a lot about his personality. So he's done his background, but I think Tyrese will figure him out pretty quick, and I think Pascal has just got so much smarts and so much experience that he'll figure things out as well. But helping those two guys together, it'll take a little time, but we have a Hall of Fame coach and a great coaching staff that are working on that every day.
Chad, with Doug, was it opportunistic after getting Marcus in the pick? Was he somebody you identified earlier in the day? How did that all kind of come together for you guys?
Yeah, I think we knew when there was a possibility we might be losing the caliber shooter we were losing in Buddy. Your first instinct is, can we replace it? And there were candidates we looked at for that. Some are available, some are not. And Doug is a guy who's Rick's coached before. We've obviously had him here as a Pacer before, but he's never played with our group. Things have changed since he was here last, and we talked with him about that today quite a bit. He's super excited to come play with this group. The way we play, the way the ball moves, the pace we play at, the amount of perimeter shots Tyrese creates for other people, as well as TJ and Drew. I think he's going to find himself very, very comfortable very quickly, is my guess. And Doug's another hardworking, high character, pro who's going to fit in great with our group. A lot of our guys, know him already from past, being a teammate with him. But he's a guy that I think is going to be a good fit with the way we play.
Yes. Before the season, our goal is to get into the playoffs. But after the in-season tournament, after the trade with Pascal Siakam, do you have a higher goal, a fast forward for team's trajectory?
Yeah, I think the goal is to continue to get better and better. The in-season tournament was a great performance for our guys, and now we're kind of past that. We're moving on to the next step is to make the playoffs, and that is the goal of everybody in that room and in that locker room. And us as a front office want to see that as well, and we're also trying to look long term, and that's why the moves we made today reflect that. But yeah, we'd like to be in the playoffs, and everybody in that room is doing everything they can to get there.